Okay. So, welcome everyone. We're going to get some feedback here. Make sure you guys' microphones are turned off. All right. So as you can see, oh yeah, there goes. It stopped now. One of the things that you have to work with as we're going through this are issues with audio. Playing through speakers, having other students in the classroom, if they've got the Zoom meeting open, they have to mute their microphones because otherwise you start to get this feedback sound that goes through everything. And so today we're going to be talking a little bit about that. And can you guys all hear me okay? I'm going to try to talk loud, which usually for me isn't a problem. But today,
do I have sharing rights?
you should be an alternate host. Okay. Hold on real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can share this too.
Yep.
So at some point I can share that document we created.
Yeah.
Whenever you get
So today we're just going to talk about some things that we found out as we were planning for this to try to help you guys out with some strategies for hybrid learning. So we have worked with Fumi a little bit. We were working with Mark de Oliveira here in the middle school about just some kind of strategies that they were going to use and have been using. And some of the things that we found is having an iPad helps out a lot to be able to use that in different times. You guys, what else are we going to be talking about today besides this?
It might be best to share the document first.
Yep, so
Sure.
if I share the document.
Yeah.
So can you mute yours and let me talk?
Sure.
Does that work?
And
Okay. No, that won't work, will it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So what we did was we went through, a representative from each school. So Amanda in the high school, me in the middle school, Ryan in the elementary school, and then of course Bob, and then Fumi was also a huge help in working on what system might work best for a classroom. And what we determined was, this is our setup, and one that we all agreed was probably the most, that we wanted to make sure we found a setup that you're not having to purchase anything. It's what the school provides you, and it works. So a couple of tips are that you place, if you look at this, so your computer will be open to the Zoom call and you'll record the lesson on your computer. So your computer will be opening the Zoom call. And it's best if you don't have the computer face your whiteboard, but rather that you're teaching to your Zoom class. Because if you notice, even when Bob was up there teaching, those of you that are not in the room, you don't feel as though you're kind of connected to what's happening. So we felt as though it was important that the teachers are talking to Zoom while the kids are in the room and they're standing just off to the side and it's a presentation up on the board, or it's or maybe it's even facing the board but maybe writing on using a whiteboard application or a pen or the iPad to write on something to do your presentation. So you're going to connect your computer to the Apple TV and turn on your speakers so that the audio in is coming through your speakers in your classroom. So that if a student that's at home speaks, their voice comes through the speaker above. And then we show you how to do that. And you're going to join the same call with your iPad. But you, of course, you want to make sure that on your iPad, you've disabled the audio so you don't get that awful feedback going on. And what you do is you sign in with your iPad, and with your iPad can share the screen and be kind of what you're using to flip through a Google slide presentation, a PowerPoint, you know, a whiteboard application, whatever it happens to be. Notability. Okay. The other thing is, and that we thought would be, or you know, who knows what we're thinking, right? I think it's going to be something that we develop over time, but that instead of having every student in your classroom be on Zoom, because that's actually not, you know, with bandwidth and that kind of thing, it's probably not going to be I don't think it's going to lead to productive or successful end, but that instead what we do is you have 2 students in the classroom that are on Zoom, and one of them you assign a job to where they're watching the chat. So if students at home are asking questions, somebody is monitoring the chat, so you're not having to do that as the teacher in the front of the room. They could also be responsible for repeating questions. So like, for example, repeating questions for the students that are on the Zoom call. Because if I'm in the Zoom call and I say a question, my voice is coming through the speaker. But if Bob's asks a question, his voice is coming from far away. And if he's got a mask on, sometimes it makes it difficult to understand. So this is kind of what we have, like really as simple as possible, right? This is just one of our options. So we'll share this document with you, and I'm going to mute because I feel like Amanda wants to add something.
I love that.
Right, so mute your volume. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Fantastic. Thank you.
Unmute your
Yeah,
volume. Okay.
I'm good. Okay. I see that there are just a few high school teachers here, but I do want to go ahead and say this is a little bit different than some of the things that we've been doing. The big thing that we want to remember, and the biggest worry, is that we need to pay very close attention to the students that are at home. Those are the ones we're going to lose. And we've noticed that whether it's in department meetings where people are at home and people are at school, we've practiced this. And if we're not teaching to the computer, the students from home get disengaged in 2.2 seconds. Then what we found is if we're teaching to the computer like this, even though I'm not looking at Bob and looking at Maureen and looking at Fumi, they're getting my expressions. They are getting everything from me. And plus they are together. So they're giving each other some side glances too and saying, that Amanda girl, you know, a little wacko. No, but in all seriousness, it's a change of mindset for all of us to actually be teaching to the computer. But I get to connect with you right now and we see each other's eyes. So you don't have to have your iPad connected to the computer with a wire. That was one thing that several of us were trying. If you make your iPad the co-host, you can go ahead and control everything from your iPad, whether it be your Google slide presentation you made, whether it be on Notability and using it as a whiteboard, whether it be taking student homework that they've turned in as a PDF and you want to write that up, whether it be going to a website, you can share everything from that iPad. So essentially, you're not touching the computer until you're basically done recording. But the key is that you want to stay in sight of the computer and recognize that the sound is going to be coming from here as well. So I guess what we want to do here is open it up for questions. I'm not sure how we can demonstrate what we just talked about, but I'll let you take that, Bob.
Nisha, you had a question? No, hold on. Yeah, I think you might be muted still.
So Amanda just said about logging through the iPad. When I start logging to my iPad, is it my personal ID or the school ID?
So the question is whether or not you're going to use your personal one or your school login for the iPad.
Mhm.
You can use your school one for both of them.
Okay.
You can log into both of them at the same time and it will work.
Is it through Zoom or is it through the calendar?
Through a Zoom link or
Zoom
the
link
calendar if you
calendar?
have it. It really doesn't matter if you have your Zoom link in the calendar, then you
Okay.
can do it through there. And
Mhm.
all you have to do is go on, open up your calendar on your iPad
Mhm.
and then click the Zoom link within there on the iPad and it'll launch there too.
One thing that we really recommend is that you log into everything that you want to access on your iPad even before class starts.
Yeah.
So be logged into Google Classroom, be logged into Google Slides, be logged into your Google Calendar so that you don't have to go through all of that. After you've logged in once, you should stay logged in, but have that login part done before class actually begins. And then it's very easy to join the Zoom call.
Okay. Wendy, you had a question?
Yeah, and maybe it's two questions. One is that I've been logging in with my desktop in my MacBook, and it won't let me log in with Zoom on the same name that way.
So
Is that just because of that?
yeah, and so
Okay.
what you can do is you can log into one, like on your computer, and start
Yeah.
the meeting. Go to the iPad, and maybe what you might want to do is have the Zoom client on your iPad and make sure that the meeting's already there, or log in on your iPad. It will log you out of your computer one, but it won't log you out of the meeting.
Okay.
You know what I
So,
mean?
yeah. So another question is like, I guess, can you explain a little more about the purpose of I know why I use two devices, but in the classroom, is the iPad meant to be the carried around device while you're not going near students, but teaching?
Yeah.
I mean, like, can you just explain a little more about what that might look like?
Sure.
Okay. Oops.
Right.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. And so the purpose of having two is exactly what you're talking about. You do want to be doing everything on your iPad just because it will give you that flexibility to give you much more flexibility than just using your computer and a display. You're using your computer. Of course, you can't write on your computer. You can't show specific things to the students. So that really is the added benefit of having that second device and that iPad. The other thing as well is when you are sharing your iPad, the students can see it from the Apple TV up on the screen at the front of the class, but then the students can also see it very clearly at home. So that is the added benefit of that. I know some people were just taking their computer and shining it towards the whiteboard, but it just wasn't working well for glare purposes and all of that. It's clarity for students on both sides of the call. Maureen, did you want to add anything?
No, that was it.
So, and I for me, are you muted, Stu? Yeah, so I think for me, the thing is that it's replacing that whiteboard at the front of the class that you're going to be doing your work on, right? Whether or not you were writing stuff before on the whiteboard that your students would see, you're writing it now on the iPad. Okay.
Right, so as a teacher.
Bob,
you will
Bob,
not be moving around.
Sorry, can I,
You know, you won't be
can I ask a
moving
question?
around the room. You'll pretty much be in the front of the room. And then, but with the iPad, the other thing is your picture. So like if I'm here on my computer and I'm using my presentation is being displayed with my iPad, you don't lose me while you're sharing your screen.
my
And you
feedback
don't
with
lose
this,
the ability to see all of the kids while you're sharing the screen.
I'd like to share a little bit of my
You know,
experience.
and that recommendation on having a couple of kids in the classroom logged into Zoom, that is actually a really important piece, and it helps them with that active listening piece. Literally give two students in your room a job. It's going to help them listen to possible questions that you're saying that maybe you're not repeating. They can also do what I'm doing, for example. Like if, for example, if Maureen is talking, I can move my computer so that the people at home can see Maureen. But it's a lot easier doing it with just two students in the room than with the entire class. And they'll actually get really good at that. And you can kind of leverage the students to help you out to co-teach, if you will.
And your mileage may vary depending on the age of your children. Obviously, Leticia, if you're teaching, third graders or second graders.
Grade
they-
one, grade
I
one.
know.
Or they might have difficulties with that, so.
That's gonna be difficult for having two kids.
Are there any other questions
Oh, yeah, we
that
can't hear.
anybody has? No hands raised? Okay. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Jenny.
So,
Hold on, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so my computer will be connected to Apple TV, so the slideshow will be projected for the kids that are in the class. I will be connected to the iPad. But I have the same thing as Wendy, that when I've tried to go on twice, it closes me down. It has shut me down and not allowed me to be logged into two devices running Zoom on the same account. It completely, like, it came up on my computer and on my laptop, and it said, you are logged in somewhere else, and did
So the other thing that you can do is not log in and just
Okay.
go to the link from your calendar
Okay, and then just be as
on
another.
your iPad and just be an anonymous student, whatever,
Okay. Okay. All right. So of course. So I'll just come in as like another invited person, and then from my MacBook, I make my iPad the co-host.
Yes.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
Nisha?
So I want everybody should be watching me when I'm doing the exercises.
Yes.
So what should be the mode of where should I place my laptop, or will be on the screen?
Okay. So this is the classroom setup right now that I
Yeah.
have,
Uh-huh,
right? And we've got Maureen and Amanda and Fumi as our students. And
uh-huh.
I'm coming up to the front of the class with the whiteboard here, and I'm
Yes.
going to turn around
Mhm.
so that I'm facing my students, but I'm actually talking to you on Zoom,
Yeah.
right? So this is what I'm doing. That way I can still look up and see my students if I need to, but my attention is focused here. And whether or not I'm probably sitting down to do this, which would probably be better than me towering over my computer. But something like this where I'm sitting at a stool and over here to the side is what the students in class are seeing. And whether, if I'm sharing a screen, then they'll see that up here also. And then the students that are not in class will also see it. Does that answer your question, Nisha?
Yeah. I have to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is probably going to be difficult at first, right?
Yeah. I tried 2-3 things, but the way Wendy was telling, as soon as I log in to the other one, today I tried it. I have my iPad stand here, and I put it through Google Classroom, through the calendar invite. But then iPad was all the time telling me, log into Drive, log into Google Classroom. The way Amanda said, I have to do that early on before I start going. So I said, yeah, that was a good tip, Amanda.
Okay, Leticia, you have a question?
it's about the setting class. Like, so you are behind your desk. In elementary, especially small kids, we are never like behind our desk. Like that never happened. We sit with the kids. We say, they never have been in a desk literally in our class. So for us, it's gonna be how it's gonna look like the setting. Should we put desk like in middle school, and this desk is like 1 meter each one another, and so that means we need to train the kid inside the class as well as we are talking to the kids in Zoom.
Yeah, I think elementary school has a whole other.
Can you hear what she's saying?
You need to speak up.
I think
Here, hold on, just you, I'll mute mine, you mute,
I think elementary school, it's going to be, you know, there will be definitely some different things happening there with the, especially with the really the little ones, you know, but the reality is of, yeah, I don't know what that will look like, but my imagination is that we'll still try to do it with just 2 devices.
Okay.
Right. Where with one, you're sharing the screen, but you know, it's like kind of like thinking about the kids at home who need you as well to be looking at the computer, and the kids in the classroom that also need you to be. And almost Bob's setup seems pretty, it'd be hard, I guess, if you're looking over your computer, if the kids are in front of you. I just don't know how they set it up, right? I don't know how your
nothing is set up, Maureen. That's the big question in elementary. We don't know. And for example, if I look back in France, the kids in France are used to sit in desk and like individual desk.
Yeah.
And my question is like, because that's going to be a training. We need to train them to be on that desk and to not socialize with their friend. Like, and it's especially difficult with small kids.
Yeah.
So that's 45 minutes being in front of a computer and at the same time looking at the kids, your small kids behind at their desk.
So I wonder, Leticia, I almost think, especially because you and Jenny are right next door to each other.
Yeah.
You know, and I know Ryan is definitely, you know, Ryan and his team in the tech office as well. You know, I just would suggest that before we start this whole thing is that you guys pretend that, you know, somebody's in the classroom and somebody, you know, you're sitting, like you test it out using adults. And I'm always happy to attend via Zoom. You know, that would be easy, and Amanda as well. You know, that we could help that way to just kind of say, this is what it looks like on our end. I don't know. I'll be curious to see what everyone decides to do, or how each school kind of determines.
In France, if you look at this right now, it's like individual desk, 1 meter each other. But as I said, in France, we are used to that. It's the way of teaching, like the traditional way of teaching, 1 desk. So the kids are not very uncomfortable with that. But here it's completely different. So Wendy, you teach also on the carpet. So for you, it's gonna be a new journey also.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's K-12, right? None of us are used to, there's not one division that's really used to having kids sitting in desks facing forward. Yeah, I mean, it's all except the admin team.
I was taught like that, Maureen.
And look how he turned out. He turned out just fine.
I turned out just fine.
I actually think that's one of the things, Leticia, they're going to spend that whole first week just readapting kids to understand rules and routines and how to sit and how to, I mean, Charles said wash hands before and after class and all those. I think we're fortunate because we're specialists. They're going to get trained in their homerooms and then come to us already prepared.
Yeah. So Michael, do you have a question? I'm gonna switch audio back to Bob.
Yeah, my question is, well, some of this is going to work out in the fullness of time. I know that, but it is going to be different depending on the balance of how many kids are at home and how many kids are in school. Right now in this experience, I'm at home. A bunch of people that are online here, right? But I don't really feel like I have a sense of what's happening in the classroom, whereas the classroom may have more of a sense of what's happening on Zoom, I'm guessing. No, I don't know. I'm not sure what your experience is on the classroom. I mean, you see a screen I'm imagining a screen that shows perhaps a gallery view. So as the numbers fluctuate, depending on the balance, that, I agree that we will lose the kids at home if we don't talk to them. But I also know, because I used to teach, I've taught K through 2, that, boy, you'll lose the kids in the classroom if there's a lot of those kids in the classroom if you're not putting their attention on them, right? They're not going to be like just, so it's just, those are questions, kind of that balancing act is a question I have. And then I guess the other question is, do we know what the numbers are right now, just to get our minds around this? What is the approximate 60/40, 20/30, 20/80? Do we know? Kids coming back?
Yeah, Amanda's going to go ahead and answer that. Let me mute.
Is it 10 to 12 per class?
Yeah, I don't know if I have all the answers. I can just tell you what it is from high school and what we've seen initially from 12th, 11th, 10th, and 9th. And overall, that's about 60% at high school that are wanting to come back, 40% that will be online. And I think as we go down to middle school and elementary, it probably gets to be even a little bit less. But Michael, you're absolutely right. That's going to fluctuate on kids coming back, the numbers at home and the numbers, sitting in front of us. And I mean, really, this is going to be digging deep into our pocket and our teacher toolkit, and it's how we're going to organize time in our class. Even with the littles in K-2, for example, it's just going to be a lot of short tasks. You're right. Sometimes with the littles, it's like, yeah, I'm going to be talking directly to you guys. And then other times I am going to be talking directly to the kids that are in the class. So use your professional judgment. I mean, we know what we're doing as far as teaching goes. Now we just have to figure out how to leverage the technology to help us do what we know works best. I don't know if that helps at all, but I just feel like it's going to be a fluid situation. And then before I say anything else, Maureen mentioned it. I just want to say it as well. We are all here to come into your classrooms and practice. Like, I know I'm officially assigned to high school. I will walk into an elementary, middle school classroom, no problem. Same thing for Maureen going to all of the divisions. So please put us to work. Let's tinker this. Let's figure this out. We're there for you and we'll do it together. Okay, that's all. I'm done.
Awesome. So I think the next step then might be.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'll mute.
So the next step might be thinking about a time when you might want to ask us to come in and look at how you're doing that virtual setup.
Sorry, did you guys, were you able to hear what she's saying? Okay.
So, and we're willing to say, okay, Leticia and Jenny, it makes sense to do yours at the same time. And, maybe we sit down once you have more information about what that's going to look like in the elementary. If you were to say, okay, I'm most likely going to have between 5 and 10 students in the classroom and between 5 and 10 students outside the classroom. Let's see what that looks like. I think we have to just tinker it.
Yeah, I was like, I think that none of us are really at a point to be able to give you hard and firm answers about anything right now and how this is going to work. And I think that, we're all going to be kind of feeling our way through this as we move through it initially, right? And how it works for me might be different than how it works well for Ginny and how it works well for Wendy or Leticia, So I think that, again, like we can give you information about what we think might work well, but at the end of the day, I think it's, you might find something that's different, and that's okay. All right. Are there any other questions that you guys have? Or more? Yep. Go ahead, Jenny.
I don't have another question. I just want to tell you that I joined here with absolutely no idea as to how to begin. And I'm leaving, or I feel like we're starting to wrap things up with at least an idea to say, okay, this is how I'm going to start it, and we're going to go from there. So I've gone from 0 to 100 in under 30 minutes, thanks to you.
Yeah. Well, good.
That's good.
Yeah, Maureen, I am planning, I did scavenger hunt today with my classes. And I wanted to, because they were telling me this is the muscle, and then they do the exercise and then go back, get a yellow stuff in it. So I put the Zoom view in the middle of my slide, but I was still not able to see when the class was 25 kids. Can you come tomorrow and help me how to set up the screen or anything, and how to use the iPad, so that I can watch all kids that bringing in the stuff, they're doing the exercises at the same time and telling me, And I said, okay, good job. Go find the next one, next item. And they were doing it really well, but I missed some of them in between to give a feedback. And I wanted to, so if you can come tomorrow in my classes and help me set up the,
She has to send her an invite and she'd be happy to come.
okay, awesome.
All right.
Okay, I don't know that we have anything else for you guys. Thank you for coming. We're going to be offering the same thing next week. So when you see the email about hybrid learning, you're more than welcome to come back again if you want. But you don't have to. It's going to be the exact same thing. We're split it across 2 weeks this week because of conferences. And we knew that some people would be in a place would be able to do this and some people wouldn't mentally. So just know that next week when we do this again, you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, I think that's all. I appreciate you guys coming. Thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.